in Song of Solomon, you'll note it's very careful reading, because sometimes it'll have in the scriptures or in the passage, it'll say he and him, my beloved, dove's eyes, all these things. There are clues about who the speaker is. Sometimes it's a little bit unclear, so you kind of have to pick the two. In 5, it has him talking, and I love how she interjects in here in 16. In the last part of 16, she interjects, and then he goes on talking about the garden. And she talks about my beloved and all the smells, and I am open to my beloved, but my beloved hath withdrawn himself and was gone. My soul failed within me. I sought him, but I could not find him. So this is a yearning part that she's going through, again, going through the watchmen of the city, trying to find her beloved. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, if any of you find my beloved, and tell him that I am sick of love. And so it's not sick of being in love, but sick of love. She's just pining for him. And what is my beloved more than any other? Thou art fairest among women. Now he's talking about her. What is thou more than another's beloved, that thou hast charged us? My beloved is white and ruddy. So here he interjects that what is my beloved more than any other woman? Thou art fairest among women. So again, you have to be very careful. You really almost want to take a different pen, like I've done, and try to mark these places where there's an interjection by one or the other. So she's speaking to him in 5, and then he comes in and interjects a thought, and then she talks about him, how strong he is, and then his eyes are the eyes of doves. So she even says that, talks about his cheeks. Whither is thou gone, O thou fairest among women? Whither is thou beloved turned aside, that I might seek him with thee? So she's pining for him. My beloved has gone down to the garden, to the bed of spices, to feed in the gardens. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. He feedeth among the lilies. So the idea is here he is still feeding among the lilies and still doing these things. He begins in 4. Thou art beautiful, O my love, as Tirzah, comely as Jerusalem, terrible as an army with banners. Turn away from my eyes from me, for they have overturned to me. Thy hair is as a flock of goats that appeared from Gilead. Thy teeth are as a flock of sheep. You know, we see these typologies or these figurativisms, and sometimes people laugh and they giggle about it. But again, this was the time of Solomon. You know, this wasn't Elizabethan English here. This isn't a Hallmark movie. He's picking things among his life, of course, that he's seen. And he mentions pomegranates. Pomegranates is also aphrodisiacs. Pomegranates were also in the ark. In the temple, if you will. They painted pomegranates on the wall. It's also believed that pomegranates have this natural curve to them. You put a bunch of pomegranates on something, palm leaves, pomegranates, all have that, again, that natural curve, like I talked about, the gold and mean. When you see the building of the temple, many of the things that they put on the walls were gold and mean. The palm trees and the pomegranates and the almonds, all of these are gold and mean. So we see pomegranates coming back and forth. And he talks about my love, my undefiled is but one, and she is the only one of her daughters. She is the choice of her that bare her. So talking about how wonderful she is. Return, O Shulamite, return, O turn, that we may look upon thee. What will we see in the Shulamite, as it is with the company of 2 armies? She is as powerful. Seeing her come across to him as powerful as seeing 2 armies. It takes your breath away. There's a powerfulness to how he's feeling about her. So you see these beauty motifs coming up again and again. And of course, she seems very humble, very contrite. You know, who am I that my king would love me? And he's like, you're so beautiful, I can't keep my eyes off of you. You are like an army to me. I am just, you take my breath away, kind of thing. How beautiful are thy feet with shoes, O princess daughter. The joints of thy thighs are like jewels, the work of the hands of cunning workmen. Again, talking about her physical beauty, talking about her navels, talking about the breast again. Here's people going to go upset. But he's talking about the breast again and the neck. He just goes again. He's reiterating. Many of the times you'll see them both reiterating truths about the other. He's strong, she's beautiful. He's strong, she's beautiful. There's nothing bad about being beautiful. We've allowed pornography and Madison Avenue and beauty pageants and all of this to rob beauty, when Christian women should be the most beautiful women on the planet. Christian men should be the strongest, the most leader. Just because we have representative government doesn't mean we shouldn't be leading, doesn't mean we shouldn't be expecting and getting out and being a part of our communities and our families, to be strong, to be that king, to have legs are like marble, to be like cedars that our children and our wives can trust in. So here he's going on talking about how beautiful she is. Your stature is like a palm tree. Your breast is a cluster of grapes. Again, you're tall, you're strong, you're beautiful. And I even hear, and the roof of your mouth is like the best wine for my beloved. I mean, okay. They've probably done some PDA here. They've done some deep, passionate kissing. Okay. That's why, some women are like, well, I don't want to kiss till I get married. Okay, fine. But here, he knows what the roof of her mouth. I mean, I'm not going to go too far into that. But there is form of PDA and getting to know and enjoying some levels of connection here. I am my beloved, and his desires for me. At the beginning of 10 on chapter 7, she starts speaking again. Come, my beloved, let us go forth into the fields. Let us lodge with the village. Let us get up early to the vineyards. Let us see if the grapes have flourished. So again, talking about the pomegranates, talks about the mandrakes that give smell, and the gates thereof with pleasant fruits, both old and new, which I have laid up for thee, my beloved. This garden is a garden that she creates. It seems like the man who creates the structure in the house, but the woman creates the garden. And that's a figurativism. He's creating the strength of the relationship. She's creating this beauty, the pomegranates, the refreshing, the beautiful fruits, the smells, just who she is. She goes and gets up early. And again, you see tied to wife is the word vineyard. It's interesting, I've said before that husbands are like a man who has a vine that you're supposed to nurture and give it what it needs so that it might grow and strive. You see, women are tied to, again, here's with vineyard. She creates this vineyard. This home is like a vineyard. It's a place where the man can go and find pleasantry, find sweets, find comfort, find appetites of different size, different kinds. She's this beautiful garden that he wants to come to. Today in our marriages, it's set up to where many times men don't want to go home. They drag themselves in, and here's going to be someone nagging them, or they're unhappy, or there's an expectation that wasn't met, or this didn't get done, or that needs to be done. And yet here's a woman who provides just a place of rest for him and for the family. It's not happy wife, happy life. It's happy home, happy life. And she has the responsibility for the happiness. I don't like saying this. Many people don't like to hear that there is a difference here. Men create the structure and women create the spirit, this spirit of the home. And here she talks about mandrakes, once again, aphrodisiacs. Many aphrodisiacs they used as spices and ointments. Some of them added pleasant smells. I mean, why do we give roses at Valentine's Day? Why do we give pleasant flowers? Because that's what lovers used to do, to give a creative, pleasant aroma to this person. That's the symbolism there. Again, in 8:1, I really liked what she says here. Oh, that you were my brother, that suckled the breast of my mother, where I should find thee without. I would kiss thee, yea, and I would not be despised. I mean, you can imagine, again, this 5-year-old boy that this woman runs up to and just peppers that face, I would kiss you and nobody would despise me. No one would say a word if you were my brother. She's thinking about this. Again, it's figurativism. This is poetry. Sometimes I wish you were my little brother, then I could just pepper you with kisses. That's her feelings for him. And so, again, she goes through, talking about, she's either in remembrance or in anticipation. His left hand is under my head and his right hand should embrace me. Again, this Harlequin romance kind of thing. One hand around the back, one hand cradling the back of the neck. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you stir him not, nor awake my beloved until he please. Again, this idea of him finding a place of rest and solitude here. Who is this that cometh out from the wilderness, leaning upon her beloved? I raised thee up under the apple tree where my mother brought thee forth, and she brought forth thee. So she's again talking about many waters cannot quench love, neither can a flood drown it. If a man would give all of the substance of his house for love, it would be condemned. you'll be contempted. There's no way you can give enough. According to her, waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. If a man gave everything for it, it would still be contemptuous. It's contemptuous even if you gave everything for love. Love is so great. Talks a little bit about the little sister, and again, that women can be walls. Walls, not just of protection, but walls of strength. When you think of this vineyard that she's the walls, and those walls are strong. Our culture tends to make feminism, it's weak. No, it's weaker than masculinity, but it's not weak of its own self. You know, she talks about women being a wall. If I had a little sister, she would be a wall. And if she was a wall, we would build upon her a palace of silver. And if she were a door, we would enclose her. This is how women should, look after other women. That if you're a door, we're going to make sure that you're around the palace, that we're going to add to things that enhance you. If you were a wall, we're going to enhance you so that you have more, that you take your strength and put your strength forward. Here is saying women are walls. Women are strong. They're just not as strong as men. So this is the difference here. But it's talking about if, we have a little sister and she has no breast, what shall we do? If she were a wall, we would build upon her a palace of silver. And if she were a door, we would enclose her with boards of cedar. We would protect her. We would make sure that she was strong. When women add the boards, the planks of femininity, they aren't weak. They are actually very strong. I am a wall, and my breasts are towers. And then was I in his eyes as one that found favor. You want to find favor in his eyes, you be a strong feminine woman. And it talks about Solomon here. It talks about my vineyard, which is mine, is before me. O Solomon must have had 1,000, and those that kept the fruit together 200. Thou that dwellest in the gardens, the companions hearken to thy voice. Make haste, my beloved, and be thou like a roe and a young hart upon the mountains of spices. Again, make haste, my beloved. She ends this calling for her beloved. And that's what God wants. God wants Israel. He wants us also to call for our beloved. And, that yearning. Not just for salvation by grace, not just for having a happy church and a happy life, not just for what we get out of it, but to yearn for him. And this is what seems like the heart of the whole matter is. And again, the vineyards. Solomon had a vineyard, and he had 1,000 vineyards. So all these women were little vineyards that he had set up. This man has one vineyard. God has one vineyard, and that's Israel, So again, we see that the heart here, as I finish Song of Solomon, is again that this woman would yearn for her, her God, that Israel would yearn for Yahweh. And the thing is, this was before, remember, but this was all written before Jeroboam. It was written before the split, written before all that stuff that happened from Jeroboam up through Hosea in the northern kingdom, and through Zedekiah in the southern kingdom. All of those ups and downs, kings and bad kings and good kings, and all the battles and the fights. And then here came the prophets and all of these people going on. And then the taking into Assyria, then the taking into Babylon. This was all future. These things had not happened yet. Up to that time, you had Saul, David, and Solomon. And he writes this as a motif of love, that God yearns for you, Israel, to yearn for him like this. Choose to yearn. That's one thing that I would give if I were giving a Valentine's sermon is your yearning is a choice. A man can yearn for his wife, or he can turn it off. A woman can yearn for a husband, or she can let situations make him look less in her eyes. We choose that. Now, I'm going to also throw it on us, is if you get her nothing to look at, if you're not the strong one, if you're kind of weaselly and you don't know what's going on, and you're, like I said, you're just sitting around staring at a tube or waiting for someone to do something for you, you can't fix anything, you can't do anything, you don't really know where you're going or where the family's going, she's going to lose interest. Same thing is true in reverse. If you don't keep your beauty up, because men cherish beauty, we don't demand it. That's not what we should do. Women want our affection without asking. We want their beauty without asking. They want our strength without asking, and we want their beauty without asking. So we see these two things. This has a lot of power to it, but it's not just about sex. It's not just about the marriage, of strengthening the marriage. It's about a man and a woman It's about how men and women in a marriage should feel about one another. It's what the man should be, what the woman should be. But the real point is this is Israel and this is God. So this poetry is very strong here, and we need to see it for what it is and glorify it. For as God has a heart for Israel and still does, and when we look at Revelation, when we see again that new Jerusalem coming down, many people say that's the church. Well, I'm starting to think that that might be the Israel coming down. I'm not sure exactly now, thinking about this, and in eschatology, where do I fit? But it really doesn't matter where I fit. What matters is the beloved of it, which is Israel, and Yahweh get back together. That's what's most important. He gave his promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He gave his promises to David. Many of these have come through with Christ, who is a Jew, who is of Abraham. We are the Gentile benefits of this, but all that's left is to connect Israel with Jehovah through Jesus. And when we see that, we're going to shout, because that's going to be the end game. When those two come together, it's going to be wonderful. And it's going to happen, because that's what Revelation is. It's going to be a great day. We should look forward to it. Thank you.